Okay, I'm back, everybody. Uh, so I've started cooking the chicken. This is the last of it that I want you to see how it goes. Um, I didn't want to bore you with it. I mean, frying chicken one way or the other. Uh, so bear with me just a moment. Of course, you're always going to have, if you use electric stove, you're going to have one side of the burner is always hotter than the other. And I'm using a cast iron Dutch oven for all of this because of the amount that I'm making, and I want you to see it. So there it is. You can see the left side of it's more done than the right side. I just put the right side in. I'm doing it in batches. Anytime you cook chicken, sorry for that, I'll wash my hands again. Uh, you don't want to crowd it. You want it to cook. Now, the one thing about this is that you don't want to cook it all the way through because it's going to simmer in the sauce that we're going to make and finish cooking all the way through. That'll bring out more of the flavor, and uh, you'll, if you try it, you'll be very, very pleasantly surprised. So bear with me just a few minutes, and I'll edit as I need. As soon as we get this part of it done, and you know, basically what you want to do, and I apologize again for the movement of the camera. I don't have somebody to film. I'm doing this on my tablet. So after you take your marinated chicken and cook it in a mix of oil and butter. And again, you don't want to cook it all the way through. You just want to cook each side of it just a very, little bit until you can't see through it anymore. The center of it's not done, so it's very important that it simmer. But this is what it looks like when you're done with this part of it. Uh, and like I said, the rest of it will go fairly quickly. I'll edit as I need. And excuse me one second while I wash my hands. So anyway, it's just a matter of making sure you keep an eye on it. Before it gets too brown, you want to take it out. So this last batch is just about ready to be, I'm turning it over as we speak. Put it over on the hot side of the burner. And I'll show you how the sauce goes together. Like I said, after this, it goes together very quickly. And then it'll cook, simmer for half an hour, whatever. Like anything else, the longer it cooks, the better off it is. The more flavor you're going to get out of it. So, and like I said, I'll edit as I need. So, the third part of it, I will actually have cooked rice. Y'all know how to cook rice, whether you boil it, whether you steam it, whatever. I'm not going to bore you with that part of it. Uh, I want you to see the important part of how all of this goes together. So, now what we're going to do after the chicken is done, right away we're going to use the same amount of spices that was in the marinade to make the sauce. But instead of putting yogurt in, we're going to use tomato sauce, or tomato puree, rather. Uh, and a little brown sugar in addition. But the amounts are the same. If anybody wants it, I'm going to try and figure out how to post it in the description. Otherwise, just ask me and I'll give it to you, the recipe. And so
That's good.
there's one of the inmates. I might need your assistance in a couple minutes. Holding the camera. Maybe not, I don't know. I just want to make sure I get this part of it done. The only other thing is making the sauce, and it's easy. So. Okay, so we're going to turn the heat down just a little bit. Take the chicken out. It's all done now. Now, what we're going to do, we want to deglaze the bottom of the pan and get the rest of that marinade and fond loosened up. You use 1/4 cup of water to do it. So you want to get all that loosened up. That's going to just be extra flavor. Once we get this done, we're going to let some of the water boil off. And we're going to put our onions in. You've got to have onions. You want to sweat those down. Once you've deglazed the pan. Maybe add another little nudge of butter. So let's do that. Once it starts cooking. A little more. So basically this is what you've got so far. You want it to look like that. Let some of the water cook off. Once it comes up to temperature, we're going to throw another little nudge of butter in, a tablespoon or so. Get that butter melted in here. All these spices, it smells so good in here. Let's get the onion in and cooking. I've chopped one whole onion. Pretty finely, and of course they'll sweat down and cook, and this is the base of your sauce. Now, to that, and yes, I'm reading because I don't remember exactly. We've got the oil and butter mix. Let's put a little bit more butter or oil in here, just to make sure. I like olive oil instead of vegetable oil. So, let's see here. We're going to use more garlic, about a tablespoon and a half. We're going to use a tablespoon of ginger. Wait a minute. Wrong ginger jar. This one's open already. Put that in. You're going to use a tablespoon or a teaspoon and a half of garam masala and cumin. Teaspoon of turmeric. This time we're going to add a little coriander, a teaspoon of coriander. That was the only thing that was not in the marinade. We're going to use a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And if you like, and I like, you're going to use a teaspoon of chili powder. And you can adjust that up or down either way, depending on what you like. We're also going to use a teaspoon of sugar. And you're going to stir this around. And let it cook. Make sure those onions are cooked down to where they're nice and soft. Sweated down, they call it. Whatever you want. Be extremely careful if you measure the way I do. Don't touch your eyes. Be right back. Okay, so again, sorry for the shaky camera. This is what we've got so far. You want to always scrape the bottom of that. Be sure you get all of that good flavor off the bottom where it's cooked. And like I said, I hope you can try this sometime and enjoy the scent of it. It smells wonderful in here right now. So to this, we're going to add a can of tomato puree. Probably 2. We'll see how it goes. Turn that heat down just a little bit. We want to go about medium-high. Give it a last good stir and scrape. Good stir, get all that stuff mixed together. Do just a little bit more here. It's with the amount of chicken that I've got, it's going to need more tomato. So let's do a little bit more. Turn that heat down. It's starting to bubble a little bit, which is fine. As long as you keep it moving right now until it cools down some, we're good. And we're going to add the chicken back to it with all the juice that's in the container where I took it out. You want to set it aside after you're done frying it in small batches. Get good and hot. Sorry if I keep disappearing. You know, I'm not a professional at this. It's just something I enjoy doing. So let that get a little warm. I think we need to put a little bit more water in it just to have enough liquid to let it cook and thicken. So you want to go about half a cup or so. And like anything else, as you get closer to the end, you want to adjust your spices. If it needs more cayenne, if it needs a little more sugar, if it needs whatever it needs, put it in at the end. After everything has had time to simmer together. You know, there's only so many ways you can follow a recipe. Sometimes you have to adjust things to your taste. Not everybody likes the same flavor. You might want more cumin, might want more turmeric, you might want, you know, whatever. But, you know, check it periodically. You always want to check it. And if it needs something that you think it needs, then put it in. You know, there's nobody's going to judge you. So let's put the chicken back in and let it cook. It's going to simmer now for however long you want to let it simmer. It can simmer for an hour, it can simmer for half a day. You can put it back in the refrigerator after it cools down and heat it up again tomorrow and it'll be 10 times better. But we're going to get everything back in here and let it simmer, and you know, we'll see where it lands. So, and any juice that is left in here in your container, you want to put back in. That's all that chicken fat that rendered out and extra flavor that I promise you, you're going to be very, very happy if you try this recipe. And so, and I've made enough to feed an army, which is fine because that means I have leftovers. Oh, by the way, James, if you're wondering what we're having for lunch tomorrow, instead of agonizing over it, we're having Indian food. Be sure you have plenty of Tums. You're going to need it. So, long story, folks. But anyway, it also kind of puts me in mind of people that I've known from my past. A very dear friend of mine that just passed away, Bill Cobb, always raved about Pam McGuire's mom's chicken curry. He always said she made the best chicken curry. I don't know if this is exactly the same. You know, I never had it, but here's to both of you. Cheers. I'll be back with the final plating and everything in a little bit.